People often say your habits define who you are. Bite your nails, and you're just nervous. Check the door twice, and you're overly cautious. Avoid crowded rooms, and you're probably just an introvert. Spend money on impulse, and you're irresponsible. Keep boxes you never use, and you're a hoarder. We love simple explanations because they make people easy to understand. But the human brain has never been that simple. Sometimes, the behavior you feel most ashamed of isn't random at all. Sometimes it's a message, not a message that you're broken, a message that your brain has been trying to protect you. The strange part is that your brain doesn't really care whether that protection looks reasonable. It only cares whether it has worked before. That's why two people can experience the same stressful event and develop completely different coping behaviors. One becomes obsessed with checking everything. Another avoids people. Someone else works nonstop. And another can't stop picking at their skin without even realizing it. From the outside, these behaviors look irrational. From the inside, they often make perfect psychological sense. That doesn't mean every unusual habit is a sign of mental illness. Far from it. Most of us repeat little rituals every day. We fidget during meetings. We refresh our phones without thinking. We rehearse conversations in our heads. We keep old souvenirs that no longer serve a purpose. These are all part of being human. The important question isn't whether a behavior looks strange. The real question is this: what problem is your brain trying to solve? Because the answer changes everything. Modern psychology suggests that many repetitive behaviors begin as attempts to reduce discomfort, stress, fear, uncertainty, loneliness, shame. Your brain is constantly searching for patterns that make those feelings easier to survive. Sometimes it finds healthy solutions, talking to someone you trust, taking a walk, sleeping well. But sometimes it discovers shortcuts, and shortcuts can become habits. Habits can become coping strategies, and coping strategies can quietly become prisons. That's the part most people never see. They judge the behavior. They miss the story behind it. So today, instead of asking whether a behavior is normal or abnormal, let's ask a better question. What if these strange habits are clues? Not clues about who you are, but clues about what your brain still believes it needs to protect you from. Imagine two people walking into the same room. Both are nervous. Both feel their hearts beating faster. Both wonder what everyone else thinks of them. Yet one starts talking nonstop. The other barely says a word. The emotion is almost identical. The behavior couldn't be more different. That's because your brain doesn't choose the correct response. It chooses the response it believes has the highest chance of keeping you emotionally safe. Think of your brain as an emergency manager. Its first priority isn't happiness. It isn't confidence. It isn't even logic. Its first priority is survival. Every experience leaves behind tiny predictions. If speaking less once protected you from embarrassment, your brain remembers. If checking the door one extra time briefly reduced anxiety, your brain remembers that too. If buying something exciting distracted you from emotional pain, even for a few minutes, your brain files that away as another possible solution. The strange thing is that your brain doesn't always update these predictions as quickly as your life changes. A strategy that made sense years ago can continue running long after the original danger has disappeared. That's why psychologists often describe many coping behaviors as adaptations rather than defects. An adaptation is simply a response that solved a problem at some point. The problem begins when yesterday's solution becomes today's limitation. Take reassurance, for example. Almost everyone asks questions like, "Are you sure everything will be okay?" There's nothing unhealthy about seeking comfort from someone you trust. But imagine that every small uncertainty starts demanding reassurance. You check your messages again. You ask the same question again. You replay every conversation again. For a moment, the anxiety fades. Your brain celebrates. It thinks, "That worked. Let's do it again next time." Without realizing it, you've started teaching your brain that anxiety disappears only after the ritual. The relief feels real, but it's temporary. Over time, the ritual grows, not because you're weak, Because your brain is learning exactly what you've been teaching it. This learning process is one of the reasons repetitive behaviors can become surprisingly difficult to stop. They're no longer just habits. They're expectations. Your brain begins predicting relief before the behavior even happens. And when you try to resist it, discomfort often rises before it falls. That's the moment many people misunderstand. They assume the urge itself proves the behavior is necessary. In reality, the urge may simply reflect a brain that's expecting an old pattern to continue. Understanding that difference changes how you see yourself. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you begin asking, "What has my brain learned to believe?" This is where one of the biggest misunderstandings about mental health begins. People often focus on the behavior. Psychologists are trained to look at the function. Two people can perform exactly the same action for completely different reasons. One person checks the front door twice because they're distracted. Another checks it 20 times because leaving without checking feels unbearable. The action looks similar. The experience is completely different. That's why no single behavior by itself can diagnose a mental health condition. Context matters. Frequency matters. Control matters. Most importantly, impact matters. Does the behavior briefly appear during stressful periods? Or has it quietly started controlling your daily life? That's a very different question. The brain doesn't suddenly wake up one morning and decide to create a repetitive behavior. It learns through repetition. Every time a behavior reduces distress, even for a few seconds, the brain treats that relief like valuable information. Remember this, it says. We might need it again. This process is one of the most powerful learning systems we have. It's also one of the reasons unhealthy patterns can become so persistent. Imagine carrying a backpack every day. At first, it's almost empty. You barely notice the weight. Then life becomes stressful. You begin adding small coping strategies. One more ritual, one more avoidance, one more moment of temporary relief. Each one feels insignificant on its own. But years later, the backpack is full. Now you're exhausted. Not because you suddenly became weak, because you've been carrying invisible weight for much longer than you realized. That's why compassion matters more than judgment. When we immediately label someone's behavior as weird, we miss the possibility that it once helped them survive something difficult. That doesn't mean every coping strategy should remain forever. Some deserve to be replaced. Some deserve professional support. But almost none deserve shame. Research consistently shows that psychological flexibility, the ability to adapt our responses as circumstances change, is associated with better mental well-being. In contrast, when a single coping strategy becomes the only way a person knows how to reduce distress, life often becomes smaller. Opportunities disappear. Relationships become harder. Freedom slowly gives way to routine. The tragedy isn't the behavior itself. The tragedy is when the behavior becomes the only answer your brain believes it has. That's why healing is rarely about fighting your brain. It's about helping your brain discover that it has more than one way to feel safe. So, how do you know when a coping behavior deserves more attention? Not because it's unusual, not because someone on the internet says it's a symptom, but because of 3 simple questions. First, has it become difficult to control? A habit is one thing. Feeling unable to stop, even when you genuinely want to, is something different. Second, has it started shrinking your life? Maybe you've stopped accepting invitations. Maybe your world has quietly become smaller. Maybe everyday decisions now revolve around avoiding discomfort instead of pursuing what matters. And finally, is it causing more suffering than protection? Every coping strategy has a purpose, but healthy strategies usually expand your life. Unhealthy ones gradually narrow it. If the answer to these questions is yes, it doesn't mean there's something fundamentally wrong with you. It means your brain may be relying on a strategy that no longer fits the life you're living today. And that's important, because brains can learn, but they can also relearn. The same ability that allowed your brain to build an old pattern is the ability that makes change possible. Often, that change doesn't begin with forcing yourself to just stop. It begins with curiosity. Why does this urge appear now? What feeling arrives just before it? What need is it trying to meet? Sometimes those answers become clear through honest self-reflection. Sometimes they become clearer with someone you trust. And sometimes, especially when these patterns cause significant distress or interfere with work, relationships, or daily life, they're worth exploring with a qualified mental health professional. Asking for help isn't proof that your brain has failed. It's proof that you're giving it new information, new experiences, new ways to feel safe. Perhaps that's the most hopeful truth about being human. Your brain is constantly changing. Not overnight, not without effort, but it changes. The habits you have today are not necessarily the habits you'll carry forever. The fears that once controlled you don't have to write the rest of your story, because understanding is often the first step toward freedom. The next time you catch yourself doing something that feels irrational, resist the urge to immediately ask, "What's wrong with me?" Instead, ask a gentler question. What has my brain been trying to protect me from? The answer may not excuse every behavior, but it might explain it. And sometimes, understanding the story behind the behavior is exactly where real change begins.